So, the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights, not to be confused with the amendments of the Constitution, but the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights grants us the right, as American citizens and as immigrants and as people who live in America, the right to freedom of speech. The freedom of speech is that we have is so precious. We should use it wisely, though. We should use our freedom of speech wisely. I totally agree. But here's the thing, though. In America, we could say whatever the fuck we want and not get arrested for it. That's the beauty of freedom of speech. In other countries, you can't say half the shit you hear in America because you get arrested for it. In America, you could say, I'm gay and I love to suck dick, and not get imprisonment for it. But if you said that in Saudi Arabia, you would get executed. And people in America, Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the extreme right-wing version of the alt-right and the group, other extreme far-right groups, don't understand the importance of freedom of speech, and they don't understand the beauty of it. They try to suppress anybody that disagrees with them on the left and on the right. Both extremes do this. So if you're on the extreme right and you say, he's criticizing the alt-left, I'm not suppressing anybody's freedom of speech. But if you're part of the extreme alt-right, then yes, you are. I have conversations on Facebook with people who are part of the alt-right in general, and they're like, the extreme right is ridiculous. I even disagree with them. These are conservatives who either voted for Trump or who didn't, who say, yeah, the extreme right is fucking crazy. And so, keeping this in mind, even the right is calling out the radical alt-right. Just like the left should be calling out Black Lives Matter and Antifa. But are they? No. They aren't, actually. The left, actually, is embracing the suppression of freedom of speech. While the right, on the other hand, I should say the reasonable political right, on the other hand, is condemning the radical right for suppressing other people's right to freedom of speech. And so, credit to where credit is due. I just have to add that. But here's the thing. What boggles my mind is that you have people on the radical left who go to events like G20, VidCon, Playlist Live, or any event that involves politics or any event that invokes any political dialogue. And what they do is, if you do not agree with them, their response is, that's cool, we disagree, it was interesting talking to you. That's not their response. Their response is to beat the living shit out of you. To beat the living daylights out of you because you don't agree with them. And they call themselves Antifa. At the same time, Black Lives Matter, you know what they do? Instead of saying, hey, let's come together regardless of skin color and march for civil rights and all that. Do they do that? No. In fact, what Black Lives Matter does would make Martin Luther King Jr. roll in his grave. Because Black Lives Matter, they shut down other people's platforms so they can invoke their own dialogue. That's suppressing someone's freedom of speech. It doesn't appear to be, but it actually is. It's a violation of freedom of speech when you shut down somebody else's platform so you can invoke your own dialogue. That's actually suppression of freedom of speech. And, that's not pro-First Amendment at all. That's anti-First Amendment. And what I don't understand is that Antifa, anti-fascist, does more fascist things than anti-fascist things, while Black Lives Matter does anything but pro-civil rights stuff. They do anti-civil rights stuff. They think they're doing civil rights stuff when they're actually not. And that's what really pisses me off. When the group originally started, I thought their cause was good. I thought their cause was justifiable. But then, as the years rolled on, I started to see a side of Black Lives Matter that the media was not covering. That I had to go on YouTube and on Twitter and on Facebook and on social media platforms to actually find out what the true content and character of Black Lives Matter was really about. And then I couldn't support them any longer. I actually had to call them out on their bullshit. So, you have to understand something here. Both these groups on the extreme left are against freedom of speech. They want to say they support freedom of speech, but as long as you agree with us. But if you don't agree with us, we're going to block you, we're going to beat the living daylights out of you, we're going to shut down your event and invoke our own dialogue. Or we'll hold a rally or take hostage of your event so we could hold our event. Or will, worse, and I've seen live streams of this shit happening, or will terrorize people that go to see you speak. This is what Antifa and Black Lives Matter do. There's evidence for it. And this is not accusations. If you think this is accusations, look at what happened to Milo Yiannopoulos. Antifa was the culprit in that case. Antifa decided to go to Berkeley, which is in California, and trash the fucking place because Milo Yiannopoulos was speaking there. Now, I don't always agree with Milo, granted. But here's the thing, though. Milo had the right to speak at Berkeley, and it had to be canceled due to safety precaution. And the students of Berkeley, on the other hand, didn't help either because they trashed their own fucking school. But that's besides the point. Antifa was the culprit there. Black Lives Matter was the culprit by shutting down a gay pride event. I believe it was in California or the South. It was one of the other regions of the states. But they shut down a gay pride event. And they shut down a Bernie Sanders event because Bernie Sanders was giving a speech on inclusion, but he wasn't emphasizing Black Americans enough. That's exactly why they shut his speech down. They held his speech hostage because he wasn't emphasizing the struggles of Black Americans enough. I wonder who's doing the real oppression at that point. It's not Bernie. And that's the thing. These two groups on the left are not being called out enough by the left. And those who are calling them out from the left I applaud those people on the left who are doing that. But there isn't enough of them. There really isn't. Now, criticizing the extreme right here. Number one, the racist, radical, anti-Semitic alt-right. I'm not talking about the shit-posting alt-right. That alt-right is just shit posters that post random memes of Pepe, memes of Trump being up CNN, which is, once again, in full freedom of speech mode, which I'll get to CNN in a second. But here's the thing. There's a version of the alt-right that calls themselves the alt-right, but they really aren't the alt-right. And this extreme version of the alt-right is anti-Semitic, bigoted, and worse. They promote genocide. They promote genocide, and they promote pro-neo-Nazi shit. And the people on the political right see this and they say, we gotta tell them that they have the right to say this shit, but they have to cool it down because it's ruining the image of the genuine good people on the political right. And there are plenty of right-wingers on YouTube that plead with the bigots of the radical right to cool down what they're doing. They're not telling them that they have to stop what they're doing, but they're telling them to cool it down a bit because it is ruining the image of the good people who are on the conservative side of politics. And, but here's the thing though. They're not telling the racist part of the radical right to stop what they're doing or stop what they're saying because they know that the importance of freedom of speech is you could say what you want as long as you don't harm someone. And some of this stuff, I will say, is borderline harming someone. In the sense of promoting genocide and anti-Semitism and all that, and bigotry against black people and Jews and anybody who is in Caucasian, white, and Christian. And that is borderline harming someone, and that is where freedom of speech ends. But posting jokes about the Holocaust and all that, as distasteful as they are, as much as I hate those jokes, and I genuinely do hate those jokes, I will not read them. I will go past them because I think they are disgusting. These racists on the radical right have every single right to post these distasteful jokes. They have every single right to. The context is awful, but they have every right to post these jokes, as distasteful as they are. And the radical right, the extreme racist version of the conservative talking points in politics, what they do to suppress freedom of speech is, like Antifa and Black Lives Matter on the left, what they do is they block people from their Facebook pages or disable their comment section on their YouTube videos because they're afraid of criticism. I'm sorry, but if you have an opinion or a bigoted view that people distaste or disagree with, people are gonna say shit to you. And when you prevent that from happening, you're suppressing someone's right to freedom of speech. You're suppressing someone's right to say, fuck you, you bigot. Or you're suppressing someone's right to say, You're totally goddamn wrong. You prevent any type of open dialogue from happening. And that is suppressing someone's freedom of speech. You may think it's not, but it actually is. Blocking can be justified if you're being harassed or stalked. That's when it's justifiable. But it's not justifiable just to shut down open dialogue and conversation. It just isn't. Now, getting to CNN here. People on the conservative side of politics, the shit-posting alt-right, the non-bigoted side of conservatism, and even people on the left. I have to say, I gotta give people credit on the left, people that don't like Trump either. But what people on the left and the right came together on this week is that someone made a GIF on 4chan of Trump tackling CNN, beating CNN up, essentially. And it's an old video of Trump beating up Vince McMahon, or Vince McMahon, or whatever his name is, the one who runs WWE. It's a funny GIF. It really is a funny GIF. As much as I don't like Trump myself, I actually found it quite humorous. But here's the thing, though. CNN threatened to blackmail this person. It doesn't matter if it's a 15-year-old or not. They threatened to blackmail this person by saying, if you don't delete your shit on 4chan, we're gonna dox you to our whole viewership. We're gonna release your address, your name, your phone number, your Facebook account information. That's exactly what they did to this person. They threatened to dox them. On air. They threatened to dox his address, where he lives, his phone number, his Facebook information, his email address, his name, and anything personal information about him. They threatened to dox this person. That's suppressing someone's freedom of speech. Dear CNN, it was a fucking meme. It was a humorous meme. But then, backlash came towards CNN. People on the left that don't like Trump made memes of Trump tackling CNN. People on the right made fun of this whole shit by making memes of Trump tackling CNN. People on the left and right understand it's a fucking meme. They understand it's a fucking joke. Get over it. It's giggle-worthy. But yet, even liberals who do not like Trump made these memes as well. And they are actually quite humorous. They are. From the left and the right, these GIFs are actually quite humorous. And I've been getting chuckles out of a lot of a collage of all these memes that I've seen so far that people have made responding to CNN's threatening to dox this person. And what I find beautiful in this is that you have people on the left and the right that understand the importance of freedom of speech coming together and saying, go fuck yourself, CNN. We have the right to post this shit online. And that's when, people come together regardless of political ideology, regardless of skin color, regardless of thought process, coming together and saying, we have the right to post this shit. And that's a beautiful thing. And finally, I want to add my final thoughts of this whole thing. my final thoughts of this whole thing on freedom of speech. Yes, there are limitations to freedom of speech. If you threaten to kill someone, or if you make a threat through a nonverbal way, that's where your freedom of speech ends. But if it's just saying something stupid, like, I'm gay and I like to suck cock, if it's something as stupid as that or as minor as that, in America, we have the right to say that. In other countries, you get arrested for saying that. So, I plead to the racist radical right and the racist and hypocritical radical left to stop what you're doing and actually think about what you're doing when you're telling people that they don't have the right to their opinions. Notice how people like me say, you have the right to your opinion. Notice how people in the skeptic community are saying you have the right to your opinion, even though we disagree with you. But you're saying the opposite to us, that we don't have the right to our opinions because we disagree with you. That is bullshit. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a long-winded rant, but it needed to be said. See ya.